Hey everybody! So today we're going to deviate talking about the galactic center, and we're going to talk about something else that, well, it doesn't have my attention quite like the GC does. It is something that I've done some blog posts about back in April, I think is when I did them. We're going to talk about Pluto's return in the US. This is something that I've noticed an upswing or an uptick with people mentioning this on different subreddits. It's even been mentioned on Let's Fuck with Astrology a few times. On other websites, it's something that's getting talked about more. It has been for a while, but there has been like what seems like an uptick in activity about it, in conversation about it. So I wanted to make a video to talk about it a little bit, because I know some of y'all are your watchers more than your readers, and that's fine. I do have a blog post about this. I will link it to this video. If you are watching this on YouTube, you should just be able to copy, or not copy, you should just be able to click the link. If you are watching this on Instagram, you'll have to actually copy and paste the link or manually enter the link in, because Instagram is fucking ridiculous with links. And excuse me, my allergies are really bad today, so if I like do a lot of like, that's why. Okay. So we are already going through Pluto's return. And when a planet returns, when you hear about like a Saturn return or a Pluto return or whatever, essentially what that means is the planet, the transiting planet in the sky, is coming home to the place it is in the natal chart. Now, we are already, it also depends on what window of, it also depends on how you read transits. Like, some people consider a Saturn return or a Pluto return to start when the planet enters the sign that, when the transiting planet enters the sign that the natal planet is in. Like, for instance, I'll show you. Here is the chart of the US. The US does have a natal chart. This is the chart. And as you can see, Pluto is at, what is it at? 2733 Capricorn in the second house. So the way that some people read transits, and there's nothing wrong with this if this is how you do it, I'm not ragging on it or anything, but some people read transits where the planet comes home or the return happens when that planet re-enters the sign that it's natally in. So some people might read a Pluto return as happening when it when transit Pluto entered Capricorn. I don't read them like that. I use an orb of 5 degrees applying and separating. So we are currently going through Pluto's return right now. We are currently going through it, but it really won't, I won't show that yet, but it really won't. The actual return itself starts when transit Pluto goes back or comes home to 27 degrees, 33 minutes of Capricorn. This will happen on February 20th of 2022 from direct motion, July 12th, 2022 from retrograde motion, and December 27th, 2022 from direct motion. So I'm gonna reference my notes a little bit just so I don't fuck any of these dates up. Now, in the US's natal chart, Pluto is retrograde. So essentially what that means is that Pluto's actual return to its home placement will be on July 12th, 2022, when Pluto is at 27 degrees, 33 minutes of Capricorn, but from retrograde motion, because natal Pluto in the US's chart is retrograde. So that's actually the true return, if you will. I would consider it to be the true return. People are talking about the one on February 20th, 2022. Obviously that one comes first, and obviously it's something to talk about. But the real true return is the one on July 12th, 2022. Because not only will it be at that degree, but it'll also be at that degree from retrograde motion, like natal Pluto in the US's chart. Now, Okay. I'm not going to sit and make a bunch of predictions about this. There's already been a lot of that. I do have some, I don't even really know if you call them predictions. To me, it's just logical shit that could happen. Considering how the U.S. is the state of U.S. affairs anymore. Like, it just seems more like rational things that could happen. There are some things in the chart. I've also looked at the solar returns for this year from the U.S.'s birthday on July 4th, 2021 through July 4th, 2022. And then the solar return from 2022 to 2023. I have looked at these. I haven't gone any further out than that, just because that's really far out. That starts going really far out for solar returns, but I did look at them. I do think we've got, I mean, anybody with half a brain knows we've got some shit going down. We do. There's a lot of unrest here. There's a lot of unrest. There's a lot of disagreements. There's a lot of divide. On pretty much everything. I mean, there just is. So I think, I do feel like anybody with like half a brain knows that, can feel the rumblings of something coming. I want to also say this real quick. I am not in any way, shape, or form trying to fearmonger here with what I'm about to say, with what I'm about to talk about. I'm not. Don't take it that way. Think of it more like information is power. I'm not going to, this isn't like, I don't want to be scary or make anybody feel scared. But I think that there probably are some things coming. And I think the more we are all individually prepared for this, the better we can all be prepared as a country. And for the love of God, we've got to fucking, this country has got to find some way to, we're just a mess. Anyway, I want to make it very clear that this is not a fear-mongering exercise. This is really just an information, and knowledge is power. So for the Pluto return, when you look at transits, we are looking at Pluto, natal Pluto falling in the second house. Obviously, transit Pluto will be in the second house too. So this is going to bring second house things into the equation. But also, we have Scorpio. Scorpio is on the 12th house cusp. It looks like the 11th house is also in Scorpio. It is not. It's in Libra. It's at 29 Libra. So the only house with Scorpio on the cusp is the 12th. So this brings in, because when you look at transits, not only are you looking at the house, right, that the transit is happening in, you also want to look at the house that planets involved in the transit are the planetary ruler of. And in this case, because we're talking about Pluto to Pluto, fucking Pluto, natal Pluto coming in fucking, or sorry, transit Pluto coming in fucking natal Pluto, we're only really looking at Scorpio here. The house with Scorpio on the cusp. So we're going to be throwing in second house shit and 12th house shit into the equation here during Pluto's return. Just from a Pluto return standpoint. I realize there are other transits, all kinds of shit that's going to be going on at the same time, but I'm not focused on that. I'm just focused on the Pluto return part right now. So that's going to bring in second house stuff like money and resources, values, the country's values, 12th house things. You're looking at things that are unconscious, perhaps the ways that we unconsciously self-sabotage ourselves. My guess is by being so fucking divided and not being able to say to one another, I may not agree with you, but you're my brother or sister in arms, and I'm going to tolerate it, even if I don't agree with you. We in this country need to fucking find a way to do that and quit shooting ourselves in the goddamn foot. We do it. We do it all the time, and we need to stop. We really do. We need to all learn how to agree to disagree and quit being at each other's fucking throats. This is something that I feel very strongly about. It doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you fall on. It doesn't matter, because all of that is a rigged game as it is. I mean, let's get real, it is. It is. It's a rigged game. I think it is. It's different sides of the same fucking coin. It doesn't matter who's in power. Does anything ever change? No. Because they are different sides of the same coin. So people, for the love of God, we have got to come together, and we don't have to agree. We don't have to. This is a value that I think that we need to embrace. This is a value that we need to embrace, that we don't have to agree on everything. We don't have to agree on everything as individuals, but we have to be accepting. There is something about being accepting here and I do feel like this is a way that we shoot ourselves in the foot. This country, the US, this is how we shoot ourselves in the foot. I don't know. I won't go off anymore on that. But I do think that that is a value that needs to come into play here. A value of being able to respect and being able to say, okay, you're different than me. You think differently than me. You believe differently than me. But I love you anyway. Kind of thing. I love you because you're my brother or sister in arms. I think this needs to happen. And I think this is, I think all of the, I almost feel like a lot of the division right now is a kind of a test to see if we can do that. And we are failing miserably. We are failing miserably. If this was a graded test, this would be a fail. And I think that needs to change. I think it does. We're not all going to agree on everything, but this part needs to change. And quit seeing people as the enemy because they think differently than you, or they're politically different than you, or what have you. Anyway, I do think that that is a way that we shoot ourselves in the foot, and I do think that that's kind of where that the 12th house stuff comes into play, because the 12th house can be self-sabotage. I do think this comes into play here. All of that kind of stuff, or anything else in the 12th house, is going to come to the surface at this time. Now, here's the other thing I want to talk about, and this is kind of, because I do think that we are going to see changes in our money too. It could be the way that we view money. It could be our currency in general. It could be, I think that does come into play for sure. I think it could. Just because second house is resources and you know, and money. I think it could that could very easily tie in here. Very, very easily. And perhaps we even find out how much of a rigged game that is. How unconsciously, you know, because there's a lot, there's like a lot, you know, even all of that doesn't seem on the up and up. It doesn't. And having, it doesn't. And having, I don't know, it feels like things could get exposed in that way as well, which could lessen the value of the dollar. It could, I mean, it could go a lot of different ways. But I could definitely see something like that happening as well. Something impacting the way that we relate to money, the way that we handle our money, the way that our money is valued, perhaps even valued across the world. Yeah, I think that probably does come into play in at least some way. I'm not saying that the dollar is going to fall. I'm not saying that that fiat currency is going away. I'm not saying any of that. I know there have been people that have predicted that, and I certainly get why they predicted that, but I'm not going to say that. I do think that there will be something going on with our money, though, and the way that it's valued. I could see that being the case, for sure. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, throughout history, okay, throughout the U.S.'s history, from the creation of the country, the Pluto stuff, Pluto transits, heavy Pluto transits, the oppositions, the squares, except for one of them, have all happened right before a war. Major war. Now, people are really concerned about Pluto's return. I'll tell you what I'm concerned about. It's Uranus's return. Uranus in the natal chart, in the U.S.'s natal chart is in the 6th house at 8 degrees, 55 minutes Gemini. Now, Uranus will enter Gemini. What do I have down here? Let me see. Uranus will enter Gemini for good, meaning it won't retrograde back into Taurus again and then enter Gemini. It will enter Gemini for good on April 26th of 2026. Now, this to me is the one to watch. This is the one to watch. Not only, Uranus is a big deal in our chart, in the U.S.'s natal chart, because Uranus is conjunct the descendant, meaning Uranus is part of the U.S.'s shadow. It's part of the shadow side of this country. So Uranus already has, I don't want to say some issues, but it's already part of the shadow. So what happens, let me go into the, so obviously when the U.S. was created, the Revolutionary War was going on, Pluto was where it is in the chart, in the U.S.'s natal chart. Uranus would have been where Uranus is in the natal chart. Now, the next thing to happen with transit Pluto, in the 1850s, it was squaring natal Pluto in Aries. Then the Civil War breaks out in 1861 when Uranus was in Gemini. Okay, transit Pluto was in Cancer, opposing natal Pluto, from 1933 through 1941. Then obviously in 1941, World War II breaks out, or we enter World War II. World War II started. There was a lead up to it before that, and it actually started in 1939, but we didn't enter until Pearl Harbor was bombed. And at this time, Uranus was in Gemini. Now, the only one that deviates is in the 1980s when transit Pluto was in Libra, and it was squaring. It was also in Libra before that too, but I'm looking at the 5 degrees applying and separating to natal Pluto. So it was squaring natal Pluto in the mid 80s, early to mid 80s, and there was no war that broke out then. Now, what it does make me think is that we were perhaps closer to war with the USSR than anybody actually realized, the public realized. But at this time, Uranus wasn't about to enter Gemini. So that catalyst wasn't there, which also could have kept this from happening. Now, another war that deviates from this is World War I. There's no Pluto stuff like this before World War I starts, or no Uranus and Gemini stuff. Now, why might that be? Well, think about why why we entered World War I. Okay, World War II we entered because Pearl Harbor was bombed. It was a direct attack, a direct assault on the U.S. Whereas World War I we entered because merchant ships were getting struck over by the UK, which obviously is terrible, but it wasn't like a direct assault on the US. It was more an assault on the UK and not wanting them to get supplies. We also entered because of the Zimmermann telegram, which was Germany trying to reach out to Mexico saying, hey, if you get in with us, you can have the territory back that you lost lost to the US. But there was no direct assault on the US. So that one is also a little different. That one also feels a little different. But I do think that it's interesting that each time we have had a Uranus return, there's been a war going on. Now, war in today's day and age feels like it would be different than what it was, during World War II or even during the Civil War, which quite honestly, the Civil War thing feels much more possible here. This is how I see this playing out. This is not a prediction based. This is just logically kind of how I feel like this might play out. We have because the U.S. likes to be involved in everybody's bullshit, right? We like to play world police. Here's what I think happens, or what could happen. What could happen is the U.S. gets involved in some kind of civil war with one another. And this is actually, if there is a war, this is how I think this goes. I think it goes more this way. But, so the U.S. is busy, doing its shit. We're doing our shit against one another, which doesn't allow us to play world police the way that we usually do. Meaning other countries will start fucking with each other. Countries that maybe don't fuck around as much because we are there to play world police, which we don't need to be there to do that anyway. But it gives them an opening to do what they want to do to one another without somebody being able to come in and intervene. I could see something like that transpiring. If there was like a world war, I don't think it'd be like a world war like what we've had before. I think it would be more like little skirmishes across the board, across the world, but that don't directly involve the whole world. It's just like, like India, Pakistan, the Middle East, North and South Korea, that kind of shit. Just areas. The U.S. doing its bullshit within. This is kind of, if and I'm not saying that there actually will be a war, but if there was, I think that that's kind of the way that it would go. So it might be kind of worldwide, but it wouldn't be like World War II. Not really. And also I think war, the way that war is going to be carried out differently than it has been in the past. A lot of it's going to be like information warfare. I feel like a lot of it will deal with information warfare. If this happens at all. But I do think it's something to keep an eye on. People are very, very focused about Pluto's return. And Pluto returns and Pluto transits in general, in the U.S. anyway, I can't say that across the board, but in the U.S., they do seem like they end up being a catalyst for whatever comes when Uranus returns. So I think it's something to watch. I mean, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, right? But I think it'll be an interesting exercise to at least watch and see what does happen. But yeah. So I'm going to get going. I will put the links below. Again, not trying to fearmonger. Just want to throw out there that some observations. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can find us at Let's Fuck With Astrology. I'm at Saturn Season Astrology on Instagram. Natalie is at Apaterno Astrology on Instagram. If you want to like or subscribe to our videos or whatever the fuck people do on YouTube, you can find us by searching for Let's Fuck With Astrology in the YouTube search bar. If you do the Reddit thing, come join us on the subreddit Let's Fuck With Astrology. And if you're interested in the star cards, go to letsfuckwithastrology.com/star-cards. Okay, y'all. I'll see y'all later.